Welcome, kiddies, to the latest edition. Oh, to hell with that. I'm not doing that voice this entire time. You know what time of year it is. Halloween. It's cold out now. There's pumpkin spice bullcrap everywhere. Girls are dressing like Han Solo because it's apple picking season, boo. But anyway, hell with all that shit. Hell with you too, Becky. It's time for the Illegal Pancakes Halloween Recommendations Edition 2024, where we give you some of our favorite and sometimes new to us creepy Halloween stuff to check out.
And before we begin, it wouldn't be right for us to kick off the holiday season without some holiday brew. So Connor doesn't know this, but I went to the gas station and I got some 2024 edition Mountain Dew VooDew.
Oh boy.
It's the whitest drink I've ever seen. Like, literally, it's like, it looks like poison. Like, if I poured this on my clothes, they would turn white. Like, is this bleach? I haven't tried it yet. I don't think Connor has either.
No.
Alright, let's just do a swig. Not the whole bottle, because we want to go to bed tonight.
It smells like kind of tropical.
Yeah, it does smell tropical.
This could be any of, like, the 15 Mountain Dew flavors that came out in the past year.
Yep. It tastes like candy corn.
Is it supposed to be a Halloween flavor?
I think so, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if I'd call that candy corn. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not doing another sip. Yeah, it's like.
I don't think that's the worst.
To
I don't think that's the worst VooDew they've done.
Yeah, but last year was like raspberry boomer juice or whatever I said.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now that we're all chemicaled up, we can kick this off. We're going to talk about our favorite. Well, we're going to recommend some movies. We're going to recommend some games / video games. We're going to recommend some books / comic books. And anything else random that we feel like.
Yep. But we got some, I guess, I don't know if house cleaning items is the right word to do. Before we get in, one big thing, I mean, I guess this is more of a news announcement. We've passed 600 subscribers here on YouTube.
Woo!
So you know what that means. Another stream of us doing something. And we're actually going to leave it up to a poll.
Yeah, we're going to list a couple of spooky Halloween games, most of which are games that we have not played. So it'll be a new experience for us, and you get to watch us get our butts kicked, if that's what you choose. But we're going to leave it up to you guys. You can vote. It'll be on the page here soon. And then we'll live stream that game for like an hour or so, and you can jump on and we can have fun.
Yeah, we'll probably also pick a day and put it in there too.
Yep.
And yeah, that'll be cool. And it'll probably be something co-op.
Yeah.
We got a short list of stuff we want to do, so we'll probably narrow it down quite a bit and then throw it on there, and that will be that. Now, before we get into our recommendations, we do want to say, as we do every year, that all of our recommendations from years past still apply. Go check those videos out. I've put timestamps in most of them, and on some occasion, there will be links to some of the recommendations if it's stuff that you can find on YouTube or on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do that again this year and have Rob put it in the description below. So YouTube doesn't delete my comment after I spend all that time actually hunting some of that stuff down. That was really annoying. I hate it when they do that. Yeah. With all the years that I link just to YouTube, it's fine. But if it's an external link, oh, that's bad. Yeah. No, don't do that.
We don't want people leaving our website and going to one of the other 3 websites everybody goes to.
Yeah. No. I had links to like maybe 4 or 5 different ones. They blew their mind. It's like, that can't be real. These are fake. Shut it down now. Maybe I should.
That's how intense this channel is. Our Halloween video was so scary it scared YouTube.
That was my comment.
Yep.
Actually, no. they've taken it. No, they screwed the audio up last year. That's what happened. Yeah. It's all good now. But anyway, we also want to do some quick updates on stuff that we have recommended in the past before we get into the new stuff, because there have been some pretty cool new releases of past recommendations of ours. The biggest one, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard about this, well, you're hearing it now. Doom and Doom 2, the new Kex port from Night Dive Studios. It's awesome.
It's exactly what you want.
Yep.
And it's got tons of cool bonus features. You can access all of the expansions super easily.
Yep. All the official ones are in there from the start. So like, you got master levels, I believe, and then Ultimate Doom, Final Doom, No Rest for the Living.
It's got Sigil as well, which surprised me. It went from being the official expansion to really being the official expansion.
Yeah. There's also other cool features too, like you got online multiplayer and co-op.
So nice. It's so nice. For years, it's been a literal struggle trying to play Doom cooperatively online on the PC. I mean, you could use stuff like Xandronum that were pretty easy with like open your own servers and play with your buddies. It was a struggle, and now you can do it. Oh,
yeah.
Take that, you old people. Just, ugh.
The future is now, old man.
Yeah, how do you like that? You don't have to make batch files anymore.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I thought you were just getting upset about you getting booted from the last one we did.
Oh,
like,
no.
You were having all that trouble, but yeah. So, it isn't perfect yet. There is some Kex engine jank, but I think I hope they've ironed it out, or they will be. So, it's all good. It's better than what there was before, as in there was nothing on the Unity port other than local co-op. It was still good, but like it's not online. And then there's also a WAD search engine thing where you can upload vanilla compatible WADs to like the game and then download them directly.
You cannot play Thatcher's tech base though. That one has been taken off.
And also you cannot play something simple. Okay, this is the one shortcoming of the new port. It can't even run a simple mod like Brutal Doom.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, that's just the crime of the century. Get on that, Mike. Night Dive. I don't even remember if Mike's actually a guy that works there. But anyway, it's a good port. We'll be talking about it a bit later. But continuing down on that, there are also the Good Old Games new PC ports of the Resident Evil trilogy, the classic trilogy from the 90s. So, classic Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. All of them, as far as I know, have been given graphical enhancements to some extent. I don't know if it's just like getting it to like look all right on a modern monitor or something. If there have also been any like engine enhancements with like the performance or anything, I'm unaware. But the big thing is they all have controller support, which you want in Resident Evil, and it's making those games much more easy to play now,
which is a good thing.
Very, very good thing. 'Cause
you don't have to buy a PS2 anymore.
You don't have to buy a PlayStation 1, let alone like a 50, well, probably even more than that now, game. Or 3 of them, too. You can just buy them all together now. I think it's pretty cheap to get the
You don't have to worry about using any sketchy ROM websites.
No. Nope, not at all. So that is pretty cool. And then the last one real quick is that Black Sabbath finally re-released a good portion of the Tony Martin era of their output in the form of the Anno Domini box set from Rhino Records. But also, they pretty much added everything to online streaming services what's the major one now? Spotify?
Yeah, Spotify.
Spotify, probably Pandora.
Apple Music, probably.
Yep. Definitely on iTunes, which is cool too, and Google Play. And they're all remastered. And the fourth album on there, Forbidden, is actually completely remixed. But the big one there is Headless Cross. Listen to that album, especially now because it sounds much, much better. Especially when you're going 40 miles over the speed limit down a highway. Yeah. And the other albums are okay too. I'll probably talk about them in the year in review. But anyway, check those out if you want to. Dang. Okay.
Yep. All right, so now we're ready to start doing the new recommendations.
Yep. And we usually start with movies.
Yeah,
right?
we usually start with movies.
You want to change it up, or let's just go into movies.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna knock a couple of easy ones off the list real quick that Rob and I actually both watched this past month together. Wolfman.
1941, I believe.
41 or 43.
Yeah, 41, 42, 43.
The one with Lon Chaney Jr.
Awesome movie.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I have a love for the Universal monster movies just because they're old and they have a cool, fun aesthetic, and they're some of the first horror movies out there. But I mean, obviously most of them haven't aged very well, like just from like a pacing or filmmaking type way to look at it. But this one, like, this is a good movie. Like, it holds up really well, I think, and it makes you feel stuff and you feel bad, and it was cool. I was surprised at how much I liked it. Like, I literally watched it. Well, me and Connor watched it together, and then like a few days later, I went and rewatched it, and I was like, yeah, this movie is good.
Yeah. And another nice thing about this, or I don't know if nice is the right word, but another interesting thing about this movie too is that it like The Mummy. Actually, I don't even know if this applies to The Mummy, but obviously with Dracula, Frankenstein, Invisible Man, those are all based on books and or stage adaptations of those books.
Yeah.
Wolfman, a lot of that got made up for that movie.
Yeah, like a lot of the main pop culture lore for werewolves comes from that movie. Like,
yeah. And that's really interesting too. So you don't really have an expectation going in. And the fact that, like, yeah, it's probably my favorite of the Universal films. Now that I've seen like the big six or whatever you want to call it.
I still haven't seen Dracula, but as of right now, I rank it as my favorite as well.
You haven't seen Dracula?
I haven't. I never have. I never got around to it. I feel bad.
Okay. I mean, I would recommend that one if I haven't in the past before, and I don't think I have. That one's already pretty good, but yeah. So yeah, Wolfman, my favorite.
Yeah.
I still recommend checking out the other Universal films, but
we watched Invisible Man as well. That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
It does have one really annoying character, but that's okay. That lady at the hotel, I was really hoping that she was going to get whacked.
Yeah.
Invisible Man's cool because a lot of the special effects have aged pretty well, I would say. I mean, like, it's weird to say that because like they don't look realistic, but he takes off his
It's
mask.
Impressive for the time. Let's just put it that way. Like, they were already thinking about things like that, and it was like in the 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we watched The Mummy. The Mummy's good, but you have to be a special kind of person to enjoy it. I would say it's pretty slow, but I mean,
it gets better after a second watching. I watched it like this past weekend.
Okay.
It seemed to flow better because I knew what happened. I guess that was part of it.
There's still a lot of really good stuff in that. I mean, Boris Karloff plays as the mummy, and when he does his like stare, which if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It just looks cool, and there's a lot of like fun stuff where they're in Egypt, and I mean, it's Egypt. It's just fun. Like,
yeah, 3 Universal films just right off the bat, and well, I guess Dracula, that makes 4.
Yeah. So
I don't know if I would consider Invisible Man as much of a monster movie as the others, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Dude becomes a freaking radical terrorist.
Yeah, like...
It like goes from 0 to 80.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but no, the other film that I was really thinking about was one that Rob was like really lobbying to watch for a long time. I couldn't find a copy of it, even though I think it's in the public domain now. And that is The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. Now, the notable thing about this movie is that it is the first adaptation of the book I Am Legend, which you'll probably recognize that name because of the Will Smith movie. Basically the same idea, but with Vincent Price in the 50s.
Yeah.
Or no, 60s, actually.
Oh yeah, just treated as the 60s. But it's like, as far as I know, this is like the first like zombie apocalypse type movie. Like it inspired Night of the Living Dead. They're not called zombies; they're called vampires. But it's just because the movie came out before zombies were a thing in pop culture. Like back in the 60s, zombies
as
was
prominent
like
of a thing.
yeah, like it was always around, but it was more like referring to like voodoo and alcoholism, I think. Like
no, it was definitely the voodoo thing. It wasn't like the dead coming back from the grave type of thing, like Night of the Living Dead. Even though I do think, this movie was very influential on Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an interesting film. It's very, very low budget. The reason why it's black and white was not for an aesthetic choice. It's filmed in Italy, and it looks like Italy. It does not look like the United States.
They make it very clear many times in the movie that it takes place in America. They'll tell you that. But don't listen to them. They're liars. Because it's...
Well, try to read their lips, because it probably doesn't match the title. Because most of it is dubbed, too.
But it's a cool movie.
Yeah.
And, like, there's tons of little details in it that I appreciated. Like, one of the things I liked was how about... I don't know if it's halfway through or, like, 2/3 into the movie, it does, like, a big flashback to before the apocalypse. And, you know, he's talking to his brother-in-law, I want to say? He's talking to his buddy, and his buddy's freaking out and, like, wanting to stash up on garlic because of all the vampires. And he's like, dude, you're being insane. And when we see him after the apocalypse, he's, like, obsessed with garlic, and he's putting it up in places. And it doesn't even really give off the vibe that much that the garlic has that much of an effect on the vampires. But, you know, he's so alone and confused and just scared that he just doesn't even take any risks anymore. It's just cool little things like that.
Yeah. He's also going around staking any vampires he can find, kind of flopping around during the day, and then he's throwing them in this big burn pit.
Yeah, that's the other thing I love is that he goes to the burn pit and there's just all these old military trucks, and it's like, just from seeing that, you know exactly what went down. Like, the government was trying to take care of it, they just gave up. A true staple of the zombie apocalypse genre. So yeah, it's a pretty cool movie.
So yeah, check that one out. And yes, I do believe you can find it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. I found one that was in color. I think it was done with AI though. I don't know. I turned it on and then I like fell asleep immediately because it was like midnight and I just needed something to distract me. So I don't know, look around. You can find it. It's probably on Internet Archive. But do you know who sold the copy that we watched it on?
I think that might have been Kale Studio Classics.
Yeah, because that was pretty good quality because it was a Blu-ray, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ones you find online will probably be cheaper quality.
Yeah. So yeah, they do good stuff, and I don't know why I couldn't find that version for the longest time. Because after you mentioned something, like I just tried looking like Last Man on Earth Blu-ray, Amazon, and I couldn't find it. It's like, damn it, Amazon.
And that's how we are with Eraserhead. I mean, how long has that been on our watch list?
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I found a version of that. It's from a Criterion collection.
Yeah, I think Criterion has one.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it to go down in price because they like wanted $40 for it when it first came out. It's like, oh, okay. But anyway, continuing on. Well, another thing I got from Kino Lorber that we watched last year. The 1922 classic, Nosferatu.
It's good.
It is.
And it's surprisingly faithful to the book. I don't know why that surprised me, but...
Yeah.
Yep.
For what they could do. This is another instance of, like... I don't know if it's, like, low budget or them just not...
Like being pre-budget, there were no studios and stuff when they made this movie.
Yeah, like just film being like in its infancy at the time, like them just not like really knowing like how many people to like hire or whatnot, because it does seem like there's a decent sized cast like of extras and stuff, but like it doesn't have like all the characters of the book, but but anyway, yeah, it's very interesting. It's obviously a silent film for the time it came out. It's also in the public domain, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, as far as, like, a very iconic horror film, this one's, like, probably one of the most. Like,
Yeah.
they're, even though you've probably seen most of like the like very like notable scenes from it,
Him on the boat, him going up the stairs, stuff like that.
him going through that doorway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all like just seeing it in motion, seeing it like in the context of the film. It's still like really cool.
Yeah, it's still awesome.
Yep, and like the fact that it just has like an orchestral backing for the audio too. It's just an entirely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know if this is true of all versions, but the Blu-ray version that I have, like all the scenes had like different tints to them.
Yeah, and I think that's actually how it used to be played back in the old days. They would do different tints for what time of day it was.
Okay. Yeah, that would
What
make
time
sense.
of day it was in the movie. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, like, so Kino Lorber did a version of that that's pretty good. You can probably find it on the internet too, and if I find it on YouTube, I'll post it down below. But like, kind of the main reason I brought it up is because of the new film, the remake of Nosferatu that's coming out this Christmas for some reason. Yeah, boo.
Yeah, let me have a little bit of a rant right now, because I've been watching these spooky movies, and all of a sudden I'm looking and I'm like, what? Guillermo del Toro's making a Frankenstein movie? There's a new Nosferatu? There's a new Wolfman? Oh, none of these come out in October. You goddamn son of a bitch. Like, the Wolfman is coming out in January. So, like, that's a bad sign, because no good movies come out in January. January. Every year, the movies that come out during January are just the movies that, like, the studios have zero faith in. Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
So, I don't know. I might still go see it just to see how bad it is. I mean, I saw Madam Web. I saw Morbius. I can sit through more terrible movies.
But do you want to see Nosferatu, the remake?
I do, but I'd rather see it in October.
Okay.
And one thing, I watched one of the trailers for the Nosferatu. I have two requests. One, I want him to be called Count Orlok. They can call him Count Dracula if they want, but I would prefer him to be called Count Orlok. And two, I want him to look kind of like what he does in the old movie. Like, I don't want a big redesign. And in the trailer, it almost looks like he's invisible. Like, he's like a spirit or something. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe they're just hiding the design for when you actually go to see the movie. But if he's like a weird spirit, I'm going to be a little upset.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. I might not see it on opening day. I probably would wait till, oddly enough, January to go see
I feel
it.
bad because I didn't watch Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is a sort of remake of Nosferatu as well. But that came out last year, but it didn't come out in October.
I don't know anyone that's seen it.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know
heard
either.
nothing
Yeah, like,
about it. Like, holy
It looked
crap.
super cool, and then it faded from public consciousness and internet consciousness.
That's probably not a good sign.
No, it's probably not.
All right. Yeah. What the hell,
Yeah.
Robert Eggers?
Yeah, come on.
Even though that probably wasn't your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta make your danged Halloween movie come out in Halloween
Yeah.
instead, not Christmas. What are you British?
Yeah, come on.
You gotta have our ghost stories for Christmas.
So it's all in the water, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of the English, though, it's actually a very bad transition, kind of.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, my next movie recommendation. I cannot believe this damn movie has gone under my radar for as long as it has. Because I'm going to say three things right now, and it's going to make me seem like the biggest idiot in the world for not knowing about this movie's existence for as long as I have. And here they are. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, loose adaptation of Who Goes There. It's the Horror Express, bitch. This was a British-Spanish production horror film that came out in the early 70s. And it's basically The Thing on a train.
As in the thing. Like,
The Thing,
yeah.
Yep, you got Christopher Lee as an anthropologist who finds this like frozen ape man in China. wants to take it back to Britain, so he takes it on the Trans-Siberian Express. One of his rivals, who's played by Peter Cushing, shows up there too, like on the train too, to go back to England. Christopher Lee thinks that the ape man might be some clue to like it might be the missing link in human evolution, but it turns out that it's actually the host of a parasite that can jump from person to person with its stare, and also fry people with its stare. Yeah, so just by the nature of it being like a Spanish production, I think a lot of the people are dubbed, so that is kind of annoying. But the nice thing about this movie, just put this in your mind and kind of go roll with this. It's probably the closest that we will ever get to a Hammer horror-esque production of Who Goes There. It's Hammer's take on Who Goes There, but done by a Spanish director. It's not as good as The Thing, but I think it's still enjoyable for what it is.
Would you rank it above The Thing from Another World?
Personally, yes, I would.
Okay.
Yep, it feels much more like a horror movie. It does unfortunately have some of the kind of dumb science stuff that The Thing from Another World had. I don't know if they're trying to make it seem like it was based on the knowledge they would have had in 1906. That's when the film takes place.
Yeah.
If it's just their understanding and they're trying to make a facsimile for it and then film from the 70s. Because that would have been an anachronism or something. But yeah, I prefer it over that, but I don't think it's as good as The Thing. I mean, few things are.
Yeah.
It is rated R, but it's nowhere near as gory or bloody as The Thing. So yeah. But it is cool seeing Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee in a movie, fighting a friggin'
I'm such a loser, but sometimes I go to bed and I'm like, oh man, I hope I wake up tomorrow and there's a news article that's Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee faked their deaths and they've just been hanging out this whole time, but now they're back. I'd be like, yes.
Dang, Christopher Lee would be 100. I don't know how old Peter Cushing would be.
He would probably
be older.
You would probably.
He'd be 150 by now.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Maybe they found the Fountain of Youth or something.
Yeah. We're back to judge the state of the film industry in 2024. Oh, wow. But yeah. So yeah, and the nice thing about this movie, there are a crap ton of versions of it on YouTube. I will find the one that insults me the least and link it below, but you can just find it with a quick search. So yeah.
Awesome.
I don't feel as much like a dummy anymore now that I've seen it, but I still feel like a dummy for missing out on things. Okay, day. So let's kind of go into... Did you have any more movies?
Oh, I have a bunch.
You have a bunch more movies?
Yeah, I have a bunch more movies.
What about shows?
Yeah, I have shows too.
Okay, so yeah, let's just have you keep going with movies.
Okay. So one that I want to do, and this is sort of a few movies, but Batman. Some of the Batman movies. I did a big Bat marathon last Christmas, and I was like, some of these movies are kind of Halloween-esque movies. Batman is, surprisingly, he's actually been rooted in horror for quite a while, which is cool. And you wouldn't call the Batman movies horror movies, but I feel like there's a lot of quote-unquote Halloween-y things about them. The first one I want to mention is The Batman from 2022, which that one takes place during Halloween, so that's a very easy recommendation. But also, The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, they kind of feel like Halloween movies, and I think it's just the costumes. The Joker, in my mind, is just associated with Halloween, and so is Scarecrow. And then we can even go back farther. The Tim Burton movies, especially the first one, not so much the second one, because that one takes place during Christmas, but that first one, it's just, it's Tim Burton. He has a weird sense of architecture and stuff, and it just gives off kind of a weird fall Halloween type vibe, and you've got Batman's always fighting goons, and typically the goons are wearing what look like stupid Halloween costumes. And then you have the Joel Schumacher movies, which basically look like they were just filmed at a Halloween party, and most of the people making the decisions were having lots of alcohol, because those movies are insane. But I still kind of I haven't seen Batman Forever since I was a toddler, and I hated it, but I kind of have a soft spot for Batman and Robin. I mean, it is a bad movie, but I think there are some enjoyable aspects of it. And again, like I said, those movies, basically you watch that and it feels like you're at a Halloween rave, because everybody's wearing stupid costumes, they've got glow sticks and lights and crap. So I think the Batman movies are totally acceptable watches to have during the spooky season. And like I said, The Dark Knight, that was one of the movies that freaked me out the most as a kid. That was one of the movies I saw in theaters, and it just freaked me out. I was like, oh my gosh, this movie could... I remember thinking, this movie could probably take place just outside my house. And I actually wasn't too far off, because it was all filmed in Chicago, and I'd been to most of the places that movie's been shot. So I have a lot of love for Batman. We've talked about Batman on these Halloween podcasts before, because we recommended the Batman Arkham Asylum, was a Serious Earth comic.
Yeah, Serious House.
Yeah, definitely still recommend that. But if we're looking away from the comics and just looking at the movies, I think the Batman movies are totally fun and can put you in the Halloween mood, even if they aren't, horror related.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of echo your point about the Batman from 2022. I mean, it does feel a lot like the film Seven.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the inspirations behind it. Not exactly what I would do with a Batman movie, but I guess it's interesting from being a different kind of take on the formula.
And it's still really good. It's one that, because we did a video on it when we first watched it, and I think I do like it more now that I've rewatched it a handful of times. But I'm still sad that we haven't gotten that true hardcore fantastical comic book Batman that isn't the crappy Zack Snyder movies. One of these days we'll get one that's going to be just like Arkham Asylum, but not today.
Probably not for a while.
Yeah, probably not for a while. This is also kind of a collection of movies. As you guys know, I'm a huge Godzilla shill, and Godzilla, one of the greatest, if not the greatest monster in movie history. That's a very subjective opinion, but it's what I'm sticking with. I think the original is still the best Godzilla movie. That's an easy recommendation for me, and again, it's fun. It's the best Godzilla movie. It's a tearjerker, but it's awesome. I'm talking about the Japanese version. The American version of it is still pretty good too, but you should watch the original Japanese one if you can. But if you're looking for something a lot more insane, I would recommend Terror of Mechagodzilla. The first Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is also really good, but if you're looking for one that's just banana science, cheesy B-movie fun, I think that's one of the best ones. And that's the one where Godzilla gets magnetic powers because he gets struck by lightning. It's got great Logic in this movie. There's this subplot about this girl gets turned into a cyborg. There's an evil mad scientist and stuff. It's pure B-movie glory. And then the other one I would recommend, I'm just going to recommend three of them. I would recommend Godzilla 1984, also known as Godzilla 1985, also known as The Return of Godzilla. You'll find the Godzilla movies all have 5 names, and this one especially has stupid names, because Godzilla 1984 and Godzilla 1985, shame on you. That's just... Why would you give it 2 names for 2 different years? And I know the reason why. It was because it came out in 1984 in some places, and it came out in 1985 in other places. But that was the first of the reboot series, which is also known as the Heisei series, which was kicked off in the 80s. So if you watch the original, you can go back. Well, you can skip all of the other old movies and go straight into the 84 movie. And this is one that I would recommend watching the American version. The Japanese one is still really good, but I prefer the American version of this movie because... I'll tell you why. It's because at the end of the movie, there's a really emotional scene, and in the American version, we get a monologue from actor Raymond Burr, who gives this really cool speech about humanity and stuff. In the Japanese version, you get a pop song, like this stupid love song about Godzilla, and it just ruins the tone, and it kind of ruined the movie for me. So, both good movies, fun monster, fun. Yeah, so those are the 3 Godzilla movies I'll recommend for October. Yep. And then Charlie Brown Halloween. This is one that should have been said a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
freaking great pumpkin.
Yeah, and this movie's so fun. I haven't seen it in a long time. And typically, if I haven't seen something in a long time, I don't want to recommend it. But I don't need to see it because I've seen it 100 times because I went to public school. And like, some of the jokes in it are hilarious. Like Charlie Brown goes out trick or treating and just everybody just gives him a rock. Like, that's such a funny concept. And then you've got Linus, who's obsessed with the Great Pumpkin, which I've always thought that subplot was weird because it feels anti-religious. And the Charlie Brown Christmas special is very clearly religious. So I never know what's up with that, but...
Freaking Linus.
Yeah, freaking Linus. He's just... I mean, that's something that kids do. They'll make something up and then they'll just get obsessed with it and think it's real. And it's a classic. Everybody's seen it, you know?
Yeah. I had it on... That was like the first... Well, I think that's the only like Charlie Brown VHS I ever had back in the day. Great Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's getting played like non-stop on cable right now.
Yeah.
Which is good. Let's see.
Yeah, that is weird. Like, I didn't even think about that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because when we first started doing this, like, we were like particular, like, oh, we got to recommend like the things that we love. We don't want to do the basic things. And now it's like, no, we should talk about some of the more vanilla Halloween movies, like Charlie Brown Christmas. You know,
yeah.
And it's good. Not Christmas. Your great pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And it's kind of nice too because we talk mostly about horror because that's what we love, horror movies. But you know, it doesn't have to just be horror movies during Halloween. There's plenty of other ones you can watch.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to go into TV shows? Do you have a list of TV shows?
Yeah, I got like web show stuff.
That works.
Yeah, we'll just knock mine out real quick. You all should know I'm a big fan of James Rolfe. Like the stuff he does on YouTube, mostly AVGN. So I'm going to recommend his videos that he did on Castlevania. He did a 4-part series like a decade or so ago, which was actually what really like convinced me to get into like classic Castlevania. It's like I was pretty much already sold on, you know, like the Symphony of the Night, Metroidvania, Castlevania games at that point. But just watching those videos of his were... Actually, I think they were the first of his that I ever watched.
Well, I know the first video he made was Castlevania 2. And that one, he's not even in it. It's just
oh, crap,
dialogue.
I forgot about that one. I'm talking about the 4-part, like, retrospective he did.
Because he did do the retrospective later.
But yeah, it's like, those really, like, just drove the point home. It's like, oh, yeah, these, you know, the classic Castlevania. And it actually got me into retro collecting, too, which was the thing. So, yeah, it's a 4-part series. He does not cover all the games that were available up until that point, because he kind of just wanted to check out, or like go back to the ones that he had played back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And he had missed a lot of them, like a lot of the handheld ones, a lot of the later like 3D ones on PlayStation 2, which is, I don't know if that would be fortunate for him or not, but but anyway, so it's not all encompassing, but it does give you a good idea of the like overall like just how many damned Castlevania games there are out there. And then yes, his first ever review was of Simon's Quest. Can partly blame him for all the hate that game gets.
Yeah.
Sometimes justified, other times not so much because he put the game on the internet. The facts were out then. You could use a fact. Solve all the puzzles and shit. And then this past year he did another one that's more or less just crap. I probably should have rewatched it. I think it tries to go back to some of the games that he missed.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a reevaluation of, I want to say it was his ranking, I want to say.
It was like, which Castlevania game is the best?
Yeah.
And it was unchanged.
Yeah, it was a James. Hey, nothing wrong with that. You got to stick to your guts.
Yeah. Yep. But speaking of James Rolfe, another good series of his, probably the only other one that I've watched, like, well, all of, because it's over now and I don't think he's going to do any more. Board James.
Board James is good as hell.
Yeah.
Like, it's legitimately good, which is so funny.
Yeah. Now you're probably going to be watching, you'll get like maybe 3 or 4 episodes in, you're like, Connor, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah.
Hey, like, why are you recommending this for Halloween? Okay. I do want to just say, watch the entire damn series. It's only like an hour and 50 minutes long between the 2 seasons. But if you really must skip, you want to watch episodes 8 and then 19 through 27. Just all the way home with that. So yeah, when it gets to Mr. Bucket, that's when it starts to get interesting.
Yep.
But it is enjoyable up until that point. Like I think most of the ones like kind of in between all those are relatively short. It's not as much like him doing an in-depth review of the rules and stuff. It's just him and some old buddies dicking around with kind of obscure board games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know what you think of Dream Phone.
All right. I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel as well. I'm going to recommend Dead Meat, who they're famous for doing the kill count videos. And when they started those videos, it was more, they would just count up the kills and they would make jokes and they would typically make fun of the movies they were reviewing. But since then it's evolved and it's become much more of a celebration of horror, and the videos are cool because it goes like in depth with like the creation of the movie and how they did the special effects and who worked on it and stuff. And if I had to recommend one, I would recommend they did a Friday the 13th kill count recount is what it's called, because Friday the 13th was the first series they did, so I mean they were still figuring it out when they did those videos, so they went back and redid it, and it's basically a documentary at that point, because you get to learn about all the directors and all of the like behind the scenes stuff. And the other thing is that James A. Janice, the guy who does it, he's just really charismatic, and like he has a lot of connections in the horror industry. Like he'll be doing a video and he'll talk about, I just hit the microphone, my bad. He'll be talking about like, and I met this actress at this horror convention and we talked about this, and like he has like, I mean, he shows up in Scream Part 5. Like he has a lot of industry connections, which is cool. And the other thing, local guys. They're from the Midwest, Michigan area. So like he gives shout outs to stuff like Cedar Point and thing, and he throws in local jokes too, which if you're not from this area, then you're probably not going to get them. But I'm from this area and I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, super enjoyable. I mean, it's good quality stuff. For October, they're going to be doing 2 videos a week, which is cool because last October they had like a huge screw up with their channel and it was actually really bad for them, so now they're going to be like doubling down this October. So I highly recommend that channel, and I think you should give them their support because they make better videos than we do.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing too, just going back to AV James Rolfe, his channel Cinemassacre, like almost every October they do Monster Madness, and it's already started because I think they do 1 video a day.
They change year to year. Sometimes they do 1 a day, sometimes they do 1 a week.
And sometimes they plagiarize.
Yeah, sometimes
scripts.
they plagiarize. But James Rolfe, who does Cinemassacre, he is a huge Halloween fan, and all of his Halloween specials from like AVGN and stuff, he really nails it. And the Monster Madness videos, they really created that genre of reviewing obscure horror movies and stuff. So it's really cool. I mean, those older videos, the older Monster Madness videos are pretty like primitive, like they're basically PowerPoints, but the stuff he talks about still holds up.
Yeah. There's also probably a good chance that you've seen something that he's recommended there, so just like, or that he's done a video on there, so like do a search real quick. Like he did Jacob's Ladder, which kind of seems like a weird one to do, but it is like it definitely verges more into the obscure.
Mm-hmm. Which is fun. I mean, it's fun to see.
Yeah, because I did not recognize the one he released today on the 1st of October.
Yeah.
But Anyway, so do you have any more shows?
Yeah, I have 2 more shows. Okay, so the next show,
go right ahead.
Ghost Stories, the English dub anime.
Yes, you English dub all the way. Do not watch the Japanese one. You will be bored.
For those of you who don't know, I'm sure I've talked about this at some point, but it was this anime that when it was getting dubbed here in America, the company that was dubbing it was basically told they could just do whatever they wanted with it. So they take this kid's show about ghost hunting and they turn it into like a South Park style comedy. And if you like really offensive humor, this is a good show to watch. There is a lot of dated pop culture references, which is kind of charming to an extent. I mean, a lot of times they'll mention stuff and I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. They do a lot of fourth wall breaks too, which fourth wall breaks can kind of be annoying. But the thing is, when you're taking someone else's work and adding fourth wall breaks to it, it becomes hilarious. Like, it's when like people intentionally write fourth wall breaks. Like, I'm sure in the new Deadpool movie there's some scene where he's like, oh man, why are the writers doing this? And it's like, well, the writers wrote that joke as well. But when you have someone else adding that joke into a story that was written by someone else, that's hilarious. But also, the show is actually, like, kind of creepy. Like, it has... I mean, it's a Japanese show, so you get, like, you know, some pretty cool and creative monsters and stuff. I mean, like, a third of them are just The Grudge. But The Grudge is pretty creepy, so you know what? Like, there's one where it's, like, a piano. And, like, why would a piano be scary? But it's, like, this piano that's, like, stalking this girl. And, like, if she touches the piano, then she'll die, you know? And it's just a creative idea. And it's fun. It's Halloween season. It's definitely unique.
Yeah. It's the way I would describe it. It's kind of like an anime abridged, you know, like Dragon Ball Z abridged.
Yeah.
But official.
Yeah.
And before all that crap happened, because this happened in like their mid 2000s. Some of the references. Yeah. That they make. Oh man. I still have not watched that all the way through.
I don't think I've seen it all the way through either, because I would always just pick random episodes. I haven't watched it start to finish.
But it is on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, but they cropped the aspect ratio. They commit a terrible sin where instead of just leaving it in the original 4:3 aspect ratio, they just cut off the top of the screen, cut off the bottom of the screen. And what's really weird is sometimes it cuts off subtitles. Like, what kind of amateur ass shit is this? So...
What? But you wouldn't even need them, because if you're watching it with the English dub.
Well, sometimes they'll be like reading something in Japanese, and they'll have it at the bottom.
That's right.
But then you won't be able to read either. I'm pretty sure it's on Crunchyroll. I don't know what the deal is with Crunchyroll anymore. I'm not that into anime. I assume Crunchyroll is still around.
I thought the weeaboos killed them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not sure, but I used to watch it on there, and it was in the original aspect ratio.
Huh.
All right. But my last recommendation, this has been a recent discovery. Well, let me tell you this. Do you like dated pop culture references?
No.
Do you like bad ADR?
No.
Do you like short skirts? Do you like people trying to use 90s lingo, but they're adults in the 90s, so they're using it incorrectly?
I lost track.
Do you like every stock sound effect ever? Do you like Power Rangers? Boy, do I have a show for you. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was created by Joss Whedon. In the early 90s, there was a movie, but the movie was kind of a horror comedy. And Joss Whedon was like, yeah, this is good, but my original vision was less comedy and more unintentional comedy. And what can I say? It's the dumbest show I've ever seen, but I love it. Like the episode I watched today, it turned out their school teacher was a praying mantis. Like, yeah, just a praying mantis in the school eating people, of course. Like, so I mean, it's super 90s, which I love. It's super cheesy. And, you know, it's got vampires and monsters and stuff in it. And, I mean, like, the first 5 seconds is like, every 1,000 years, there's one person who is the Slayer, and they're the ones that are summoned to kill all of the vampires, but also the other things. This is the story. And it's like, okay, I'm already hooked. And, oh man, it's just, I feel like this is just going to be me mentioning just dumb things that I like about it that I'm not supposed to like. I mean, there's the character Willow, and she's like supposed to be the nerd, and they're like, oh, Willow, you're never going to get a boyfriend. And it's like, she's always hanging out with dudes. Like, she hangs out with more dudes than any other girl on that show. It's just, oh, it's just funny. Like, Sarah Michelle Gellar is just giving this, like, ditzy bimbo performance. And she's like, ugh, why do I have to fight the vampires? Can't I just focus on whatever next month's hair is gonna be? And it's like, it's just, it's so weird. And I assume the show gets a lot better because it's often regarded as one of the, like, best TV shows. But as of right now, it's still just like a really cheesy, I mean, it's basically just Power Rangers at this point. Like, that's how it feels.
Are you in season 1?
Yeah, I'm still in season 1, so we'll have this. I'm hooked. I'm gonna be watching it for the rest of the month. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was watching it, and like my parents literally got mad at me for watching it. It's been a long time since I've watched the show, and they're like, "Turn this off. You're ruining your brain." Okay.
Dad, I'm 48.
Yeah. Dad, get a job.
Oh.
All right, there you go. So that's my last TV show recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have any others. I'm not big on TV shows. But anyway. Let's go into friggin' games. Now, yeah, let's just start with this one since we already kind of hinted at it with the new Doom 2 port. Mm-hmm. That is Legacy of Rust.
So it's the new expansion. It's created by a bunch of Night Dive employees, Machine Game employees, Bethesda employees, and just map-making veterans in general. So it's a lot of really good quality maps, and it's got new enemies, which is a pretty big deal. And
new weapons.
New weapons. And I haven't played through all of it. I've only played 3 of the levels. But one of the levels I played, which is the secret map, which is map 15, this is the one that I would definitely recommend for playing for Halloween. It's called the Ash Mill. And I don't even know if I want to say what it is. I mean, I guess it's an old mill.
Just imagine, it looks like a Dusk map.
Yeah, it looks
like something out of Dusk.
Yeah. And if you don't know what Dusk is, then you're going to be in for a surprise. But it's really cool. It's really creepy. And it was a fun map. And
if you play it on co-op over the internet, the textures might not
textures might not work.
I think they were who was the host? They were scrolling for the host, right?
I think so. They weren't scrolling for me.
They weren't for me either. So it's like you go into a room and it's like, this is really boring.
Yeah.
And Greg's like, oh, you don't see it?
It wasn't as bad as playing Q-Doom on co-op.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, where all the monsters were rotating.
Billboarding.
Yep.
Jeez. That was still fun, though.
It was fun.
I forgot Greg was there for that. Yeah. So, yeah, another weird thing, too, I just want to talk about. For some reason, only the Unity version of Ultimate Doom got replaced with the new port. Like, you can still play Unity Doom 2 just fine. So, but, you know, if that's all you have, then, like, you have to buy another game. Not that... I don't think they upped the price, or did they?
I don't know. I haven't checked. I mean, I got it for free, so I wasn't really looking.
I've been given new ports for free for, like, the past 10 years, it feels like. So
yeah.
I haven't been really paying attention. Okay, but on the topic of Doom, one I want to recommend, and I think I talked about this in the year in review last year, is Knee Deep in Z-Doom. This was basically a very, very big... Doom mapping community project from the early 2000s to basically remake Knee Deep in the Dead in the at the time new Z-Doom source port.
And a big part of it was trying to show off all of the cool things that Z-Doom could do, right? Because I remember playing through the beginning of it in high school, and I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow, this is a different experience.
Yeah. So that's one of the impressive aspects of it. It's like a very, very good like tech demo for what you can do with ZDoom, or I guess GZ Doom now, because you kind of have to play it in GZ Doom now. I don't think, yeah, ZDoom's not supported anymore, and I wouldn't recommend playing ZDoom. But unfortunately, the gameplay isn't always there. Like, it does not feel like Knee Deep in the Dead from a gameplay standpoint. There's a lot of slog, a lot of enemies that shouldn't even be in the dang game because they suck. Stone imps. Satyrs. Yeah, they got a lot of melee-only enemies for some reason that are slow, and they don't use them properly. What's up with that? And a lot of, just dumping a bunch of enemies in a crowded area. But it's still pretty entertaining for what it is. I think it gets a lot of crap online, but I don't think it really fully deserves it. And it's got some nice atmosphere to it, too, which, it's just not what I would, say is the best, example of a new, take on Knee Deep in ZDoom, or Knee Deep in the Dead.
Well, what I think is interesting, too, is this one came out around the same time that Doom 3 was still popular. So, it does take inspiration from Doom 3, where you have... Well, which I think is a good thing. I'm not saying this to downplay it, but you have, a lot of very dark areas and stuff, and the Mars kind of looks like a hellscape, and it's got a cool atmosphere.
Phobos.
Yeah, Phobos.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the neat thing about it, but yeah, it does come across as a tech demo. It can be a bit of a slog, but I do think it works in co-op, so if you want to try to get through it a bit more quickly, just find a buddy, play through it in co-op. But you will have to use Xandrona. Yeah. But anyway, if you want something that feels a little bit more like classic Doom, check out Knee Deep in ZDoom. This was pretty much a demake of Knee Deep in ZDoom to be more vanilla compatible. Done mostly by one person. I'm forgetting the name of the map maker. But it is very impressive for what it is. It's basically like a tech demo for classic Doom.
Yeah.
What you can pull off with a lot of trickery and dickery.
It shows what 30 years of messing with the Doom engine can give you.
Yeah. Yep. It's not quite a one-for-one remake. There are concessions made because obviously there are a lot of things that the ZDoom engine can do that you can't do in the classic vanilla Doom engine. But just being a completely different experience, that makes it a little bit more interesting. It has a much better enemy selection too. Some things that it does that I don't really like or agree with, as far as there's no rifle in it. I wish they would have put the rifle in it, even though that was OP. Yeah, they replaced it with a flare rifle, which is kind of feels like a plasma gun. It might be more powerful. I'm not sure on that, but yeah, play it after you play regular Knee Deep in ZDoom. You'll get more of an appreciation for it, I think. Some people, Greg would probably just say, "Oh yeah, skip Knee Deep in ZDoom, just go right into Knee Deep in Knee Deep." But I don't know.
It's two different eras of Doom modding.
Yeah.
That are trying to accomplish the same thing, which is cool to see.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that one does not work in co-op, which is a shame. But with all the messing around that had to be done with vanilla Doom, there's probably a lot of reasons why it wouldn't work that way. But yeah, still I'd recommend it. And the soundtrack's awesome too. Especially the secret level, which is somehow still a remix of the song that was originally, and I forget the name of that one. But I'm not sure if I hear it. I would have to listen to it again. Alrighty.
Alright, I'm gonna recommend the Castlevania Dominus collection.
Yeah, I was gonna recommend that.
Heck yeah, it's because everybody should be playing it. It's awesome.
It's friggin' black magic, man.
Yeah, this is such a good re-release. This is what I want to see in more re-releases, because it's 3 games for what you don't if you guys
DS
don't know.
games at that too.
Yeah. So a bunch of DS games. Now you can get them on basically everything. But also it's got, new features. You can do quick saves now. You can do that thing from Forza where you go back in time. It's got extras. You can look at the original artwork. You can look at the original instruction books. And apparently most of these games had a bunch of instruction books. Because it shows you the Japanese ones. But it also shows you, different American ones. I don't know if it's, English. But, one of them's, because I was looking through them for one of the games. And it had, a normal American, pamphlet book. And then they had one that was, all black and white. And it was, more condensed and shorter. So I don't know if that was from other re-releases or whatnot, but
The Konami, the best.
yeah,
The game in a game
the
version.
game in the game. But I've been playing it a lot recently, and it's awesome. I love it. If you're someone that's interested in the Castlevania games and the more Metroidvania style ones, this is a good place to start. I mean, I've tried. I feel bad because I've tried getting into the older ones. Because, I have the other Castlevania collections as well, the classic collection stuff, but it's not always easy to get through those, NES and SNES games. But with the DS one, it's a lot better for beginners, I would say.
Yeah. Those games are way easier, usually. Even the Game Boy Advance ones are much easier. Another addition to the collection is a revamped version of Haunted Castle, which was an arcade port of the original Castlevania. I assume it's just as hard as the original Haunted Castle was, which is a real ball buster. And apparently you could play the original version of that too.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they have the Japanese version or not, because that one was easier.
With all of the games, you can play them in any version. You can play the Japanese version, you can play the English version, I think you can play the Chinese version as well. Yeah, it's like I said, this is the perfect re-release. It's awesome.
Yep, and you by nature of the three main games being DS games, you can also you can very heavily customize the screen orientation, the sizes of the size of the secondary screen. I don't think you're able to shrink the main one, or can you?
I'm not sure. I haven't messed around with it, but that's the other thing I should mention. I mean, a lot of times porting a DS game to something that's not the DS doesn't always work that well because you have the touchpad and stuff, but so far I haven't had any issues. These games have been fine. You know.
Fortunately, those games were all very light on the use of the touchpad. It's the big hurdle was just having two screens showing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I could not recommend this collection more, especially seeing the price that these games go for on eBay. Because you can't get them on Amazon anymore. You probably won't find them new anywhere, and it'll be $300.
I guess I should say the three games that it comes with. It's Order of Ecclesia. I think I pronounced that right.
Right.
Dawn of Sorrow, and then I'm trying to remember what the third one is.
Portrait of Ruin.
Portrait of Ruin.
And then Haunted Castle revamped, and then Classic.
So you're getting 5 games, really. 4.5.
Yeah.
Now, have you played... I know that you used to play Dawn of Sorrow a lot.
Yeah.
Have you played through the other ones?
Yes.
Okay. And if you had to rank them based off what you remember, which one was your favorite? Which one wasn't your favorite?
Now, I like all three of these games for different reasons. I would have to say probably the best one, and I would also say probably one of the most underrated Castlevania games in the whole series, Order of Ecclesia.
Okay, cool. That's what I'm playing through right now. So,
yeah. You're playing them in chronological order.
Yep. I actually started with Dawn of Sorrows, and after the first cutscene, I was like, maybe I should play this in chronological order because there's a lot of.
Well, no. For Dawn of Sorrow, you got to play Area of Sorrow first.
Oh.
That's one of the Game Boy Advance.
That's one of the Game Boy Advance ones. Oh, okay.
That's in the Advance collection, which I've recommended before, and also I think
I own.
You should have, yeah. Yeah, play through that one first. Actually, I'd recommend anyone, just starting out with Castlevania, start with Area of Sorrow.
Okay. Too late. I already started with Ecclesia. So.
Okay. But yeah.
But the other thing that I want to talk about is, because this re-release is so good, you know that in the next few years, we're going to get Symphony of the Night re-release.
That's what a lot of the Steam comments are saying.
Yeah, we know we're going to get it. And now the bar has been set very high.
Now that Sony's freaking imploding.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get Rondo of Blood.
It'll be a perfect time.
Yeah.
But as for now, what we have is still pretty good. I'm not going to complain.
Get the Dominus collection. This one I'm going to recommend. Actually, no, let's do this real quick. So, Resident Evil 2. Classic Resident Evil 2. It's playable on GOG now.
Mm-hmm.
Get it there. Play that son of a bitch. Preferably after you've played through the first one. That is all. It's Resident Evil, but more.
Mm-hmm.
And in the city. It's got weird liquors in it. Probably some weird Freudian aspect to that I don't even want to think about.
I'll say just like actual cities.
Oh my.
Yep.
But yeah, no. Resident Evil 2 is probably like, I would probably say it's the strongest of the classic trilogy.
Okay.
But even though I love the original. I love the original a lot. Resident Evil 2, the acting is slightly better, but is still just as Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a lot more to it. Technically, to beat the game, you got to play through it like 4 times, which seems kind of like a cheap way of padding it, but you unlock stuff if you go through it fast enough.
And it doesn't have that long of a campaign, right? I mean,
no, like each leg of it, like you're playing through as one character and then you play as the other. It's like you play through as Leon, then you play through as Claire, and then you can do it the other way around. Like, if you know what you're doing, you can do it easily in like under 6 hours, I want to say.
Okay.
And I think some of the like goals to unlock stuff is closer to 4. So like you just got to really get it down to a science, and like even on your first playthrough, it'll be somewhere between 6 and 8 hours per leg. A lot of that will just be trial and error, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will die a lot learning a game. And that's just how it is.
Yep.
Survival horror. But yeah, very good game. Could not recommend more, especially since it's now more readily available. You don't have to hunt down a copy on eBay or hunt down a PlayStation 1. And that is always cool. But the other game that I'm recommending, because like Nosferatu, there's a remake of it coming out actually next week as of our recording of this, and that is Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is an all-time classic. It is Crime and Punishment by way of Jacob's Ladder, if I had to describe it. It has an awesome soundtrack.
Has a great soundtrack.
Yes. And there's a reason why it's like considered the way it is. Now, why I'm recommending the original is just I'm not feeling the best about the remake. Like there are a lot of rumblings about them like changing aspects to the story and stuff like that. And I honestly think anyone going in who like is interested in trying the remake out, hasn't played the original game, should try to play the original first to kind of get the comparison. It is archaic. It's not as difficult to deal with as classic Resident Evil. Like the auto aim is much more player friendly. You do have to contend with tank controls though, if you want. There actually is an option for like a 2D movement scheme, which I would not recommend using because of all the different camera changes. But yeah, like just any way you can play it, try to play it. If you have like an old copy, you know a friend who has a copy, try to play it that way. Try emulation. I would not know what to recommend for that.
PSX, I think, is the one that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems to work.
And I know there's like a very there's actually a bit of a modding community online. They have like an enhanced version that they've done for the PC port, which actually part of the reason why I want to recommend this now is like Good Old Games was the one that really pushed to get those Resident Evil ports out. Like Capcom, from what I understand, like they had no intention to do that. So Good Old Games like, hey, let's do this. So Good Old Games, just please get Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3, and by some miracle, if you could, the first game onto good old games. They need to be played by more people. And they're really hard to play now. Because they might end up remaking more of them, and it'd be kind of weird to like not have the originals be available. And that'd just be a shame.
Yep. It's always good to have. I mean, if the game, if you want it to last, you got to re-release it. And that's how it is with movies and stuff too. You know, the freaking Hammer movies, the Hammer monster movies. A lot of those I still don't think have a modern release. I think a lot of them are still just on VHS. I could be wrong there, but
yeah. Or you got to really like there isn't like a definitive collection of all of them. I think there's a lot of dickery with the ownership, like the distribution rights. Because I got like a collection of them of like 8 horror classics, quote unquote. And it's kind of a bit of a grab bag, to be honest.
You know, same with the Godzilla. They did release a box set where it's all of the original Godzilla movies from the 50s through 70s, and they released a box set that's all of the ones from the 2000s and most of the ones from the 90s. But there is no like box set of like the entire, you know, series. You can't get a box set where you're just gonna get every Japanese Godzilla movie or whatnot, and that kind of sucks. And the real issue is one of the movies, Godzilla vs. Biollante, which was from 1989, I want to say. It was last released on DVD in like 2011, I want to say, and it's like impossible to get your hands on that DVD. And also, it's not even that good a quality of a DVD. Like it's not that good because I have a pirated version of it. Not that I recommend you pirate movies, but I'm just saying, you know, $60 for a really crappy DVD, that's not a great deal. Like, It needs a nice Blu-ray re-release in the original aspect ratio. So,
yeah, I don't know who would be big on that for like Japanese films, but yeah, that would.
Criterion released the box set, surprisingly, of the classic Godzilla movies. They just need to get the ones from the 80s through the 2000s.
I'm surprised they haven't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised nobody has yet. And once it does happen, I imagine it'll be great. But all right, we got off topic though. I think you have one more game that you want to recommend.
I do. There's a bit of a caveat to there's a bit of a caveat to this recommendation, because as much as I would like to say go out buy this game now if you can, it's not readily available. From what I have seen, like I did a quick search on like Amazon stuff, so it's probably available on like eBay and like the secondhand market, but not like new. And that game is Keep the Heroes Out. I've recommended it before, or like I've talked about it before in a year in review. This was a while back. Basically, it's a dungeon defense game where you play as a bunch of different monster clans trying to protect your dungeon's treasure from a bunch of invading heroes. It's a cooperative game. Each player takes the role of a different monster clan.
Is this a video game or a card game?
It's a board game.
It's a board game.
But it actually will be becoming a video game soon. That's
cool.
That's part of the thing I was going to talk about later, or in a bit. But anyway, so kind of the aesthetic that it's trying to go for, it's more of like the D&D, like fantasy type things. It's like a lot of the monsters, like some of the monsters are, you know, like a dragon, gnolls, you got slime, stuff like that. But a surprising number of like the like monsters are like more of the like Boo Haunted House variety, you know, like typical Halloween ones. You know, you got skeletons, you got witches, you got poltergeists, which look like bedsheet ghosts. They have a new expansion that's coming out that has like a werewolf and a vampire, spiders. So it's kind of got like a Halloween feel to it, kind of unintentionally, which I find kind of cool. It's a very good game for like beginners, like people who aren't really used to playing games like that. Young kids could probably learn it easily, and it's got a cute art style, so your lady friends and or relatives would probably be willing to play it. Like, you'd be like, I don't want to play your nerd games. Like, look at this shit. It's like,
It's adorable.
It is weirdly adorable. I hate saying that as a guy, but yeah. But anyway, now, like I said, it's not really readily available, so maybe this is more of a recommendation for next year, but there is a Kickstarter that'll be hitting or coming out like towards the end of October for the video game adaptation of it. And that will also include options to pick up the game itself, as well as like any expansions for it, I believe. And so if you want to get it, like, I'd recommend getting it through there, because that'll probably be at the best price, and also I don't know if it's gonna get like a full-on retail release, because it's already had like 2 Kickstarters, the original one, then the one for the expansion. And I don't know if they're like will ever be like we're gonna take this to retail and keep it there permanently, or if it's just gonna be like, we'll come out with a new expansion, you can get the base game with that or whatnot. So yeah, you gotta kind of have to have your ear to the ground for whatever else this guy makes, and then like try to pick it up then. So that is that when it comes to games, and we still have some stuff left to recommend. I'm gonna try to rocket through it real quick. This might end up being our longest one yet. Alrighty.
All right, I'm gonna. Then you want to do music, or do you want to do books first?
Let's do books. Save music for last.
Okay, cool. Because I don't have any books.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yep.
Just rocket through these. Don't need to review them or give any explanation. Gonna recommend some Lovecraft real quick. Check out The Temple. Check out Herbert West Reanimator. Both of these are, well, Temple's a shorter story. The guy on a U-boat in World War I, German guy. It's actually kind of a dumb story. A lot of it doesn't make sense, but just kind of it's one of his earlier ones that takes place under the ocean, so it's kind of cool from that. Herbert West Reanimator, longer form story. Like I think it's in 3 and 4 parts. Kind of does this annoying thing where each chapter has a recap at the beginning, but yeah, it's pretty interesting, like almost like body horror type story.
Yeah. Like
monster story.
And that one inspired a film franchise, didn't it?
I don't know if it was a franchise, but there was a movie called The Reanimator.
Yeah.
And I think it had comic books related to it, so maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Oh, maybe.
I remember seeing those in an antique mall, or an antique shop once. I didn't pick any of them up, though. Another set of short stories from M.R. James. Got The Wailing Well and The View from a Hill. Wailing Well is pretty self-explanatory. View from a Hill. Got some haunted binoculars. Ooh.
That actually sounds really cool.
Yeah. Not as much of like a boo scary story. It's just kind of one of those that's like... Yeah. And then finally, I'm going to just recommend all of them, even though I haven't read all of them. The Savage Tales of Solomon Kane. From Robert E. Howard. The guy who created Conan, by the way, if you don't know. Solomon Kane's pretty much this like Puritan sword fighter, very strong sense of justice.
Old school pulp hero.
Yeah.
They made a movie about him in like 2009, I want to say.
Yep, starring James Purefoy.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, oh, that looks awesome. And then for years I had no idea what that movie was because I forgot the name. And I was like, was that movie even real? But yep, it took me like 10 years, but I finally figured it out that it was Solomon Kane. I still haven't seen the movie.
I haven't either.
It's supposed to be terrible, so...
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a shame if that's true. I'll have to evaluate that. But anyway, just to kind of recommend some of the more supernatural stories. There are like 2 of them that I have read that are on the shorter side too. Because I know like people don't like to read. But The Right Hand of Doom and Rattle of Bones.
Who are these by?
These are both by Robert E. Howard.
Oh,
these
I
are
remember. Okay.
Savage Tales
Yeah.
of Solomon Kane. So, yeah. You can pick up the book, like just a book that's like literally all the tales in one. From Amazon. It's got some neat pen and ink illustrations. And you can probably find them online pretty easily, which I'm going to have to do real quick. Yeah. Probably be recommending more of those next year after I read more of them. Get through some of the more long-form stuff. But
And I might read some as well.
yeah. They're pretty cool, what I've read so far. But yeah, weirdly enough, some of them can be kind of on the historical fiction side. Like, they don't have any supernatural elements to them at all.
I guess that makes sense. But he's known for, like, fighting demons, right? Like, that's his thing.
Demons and, like, other supernatural stuff like he comes across. But yeah, but, like...
Just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
But yeah, those two that I did recommend, they do have supernatural elements to them. So yeah. Alright. Did you have anything comics or
No,
manga related?
which is sad because I actually had a list of comics that I wanted to check out specifically so I could recommend them, and I still haven't checked them out.
Okay. Well, kind of up in the category of stuff that like is kind of like, duh, we should have recommended this years ago. Uzumaki from Junji Ito.
We've been talking about this book for a long time, so we should have recommended it. It's really good.
Yeah.
There's also a new anime that came out, and it's so weird to be able to say that it came out. I haven't actually watched any of it yet, but I'm gonna
part of
try.
it's not knowing how
Yeah.
at the moment.
I was like, I don't have an HBO Max account. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, it's on HBO Max?
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, I know you can watch it on the freaking Adult Swim website, but you go there, you click on the link to watch it, and then it's like, please put in your cable subscriber number, and I'm like, bro, I don't have cable. That's why I'm trying to watch it on here.
No
like,
one has cable.
Yeah, like,
What kind of freaking grandpas do they think
like,
are trying
why
to
on
watch
earth?
Uzumaki?
What website have you been to where they ask you to like put in your internet provider information? Like, you're on the internet, bro. Like, you should like. Shame on you. Shame on you.
You should just type in your dreams, narc.
Yeah,
Just
seriously,
Hit
like-
enter. Maybe it'll go through.
I used to be able to watch episodes of cartoons on CartoonNetwork.com all the time. I didn't have to fill out any freaking paperwork to do that. Like,
Cable provider. It's like, I don't. Just put in like a Netflix account number.
yeah.
I don't know. That's what most people have. But yeah, that's a pretty obvious one that we should have recommended a long time ago. I'd say start with Volume 1 and just try to get through that.
I think Volume 1 is the strongest. That's not to say the other volumes aren't really good, because they are. But Volume 1 has most of my favorite stories in it.
Yeah. Volume 2 is kind of that way too, but yeah, just start with Volume 1 and go from there. Alright, then... Do I want to recommend these next two? I'm not feeling strongly about it. I don't know.
Yeah, you piqued our interest. You gotta say it now.
Okay. Friggin' Tales from the Crypt.
Ooh.
The old EC comic series from the Golden Age. Which I'm trying to figure out if that's the 40s, 50s, or whatnot, because I didn't think EC was around in the 40s. But anyway, this is basically like an horror anthology series of comics. They all have, they've all gotten re-releases through, or reprints through Dark Horse. And these like kind of like giant magazine-sized like volumes. Like it collects like 6. The one I have, which is Volume 1, collects like 6 issues. Stories are not the best, to say the least. But the artwork's pretty good. The new recoloring that they did is very, very vibrant. Looks pretty good. And it's just kind of like a... I don't know if time capsule's the right word. Just to kind of look back and see how comics were from that time.
Yeah.
Just how they...
See how horror was from that time.
Yeah. It was kind of lame. Because it's not necessarily... Like, a lot of the stories don't even have supernatural stuff to them. It's just like mysteries or like murder stories. One I would recommend from this volume is called Zombie. It's about Haitian voodoo. Very topical.
Mm-hmm. Hey, speaking of voodoo, Mountain Dew.
No. That one's pretty good. But yeah, I can't really recommend any of the others. It's like I said, it's just kind of to see how the comics were back then. Maybe like I'm gonna continue with the series, buy the other volumes, and also buy the other prints, because there's also like the Vault of Horror and then the Haunt of Fear, all which have like four or five volumes from Dark Horse. But I don't know. Well, I'll start out with Tales from the Crypt and just go from there. Yeah.
So was there another comic, or was that all of them?
Yeah, there is another one. Stephen King's Creepshow. Now,
I didn't know that was a comic series. I thought it was just a movie.
it's the graphic novel adaptation.
It's the graphic. Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yep. With art by oh damn, what's that guy's name? It's on my mind. Bernie Wrightson, who's probably most well known for helping co-create Swamp Thing and then doing a
Cool.
adaptation of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of horror comics, not just this. Yeah, it's basically the comic book adaptation of the short stories from that movie, which were meant to be based on like horror anthologies from EC Comics back in the day.
I was gonna say, like, this is kind of a weird backwards.
It's like back asswards. Like it's kind of funny in that regard. Again, I don't think the stories are that good overall.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the cynical and like, I don't know, like cynical type of horror. Like everybody in the story's like a dickhead, and you don't really relate to any of them. But I don't know. Maybe it was meant to be a parody or something. I really don't know. And kind of unlike the movie, all the comics have like an intro by a character called the Creep, kind of like trying to be like the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. And like that wasn't in the movie at all. Like the Creep does appear, but he's like doesn't speak. Like not until like the movie sequels. So it's kind of a bit more light tongue in cheek, I guess. So yeah, maybe it is meant to be a little bit more lighthearted or something. But like really the only story I would recommend is The Crate.
This is really cool.
Yeah. Art's pretty good. Like, I'm not really familiar with Bernie Wrightson's work. I just have heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if any of these stories like really show his true potential. Maybe I'll have to read his Frankenstein sometime, but it's just for like a quick diversion, it's pretty good, I would say. Like I read through it like the entire thing in like one evening.
Okay.
Like it's a very quick read, like in an hour, I want to say. Haven't seen the movie, so I can't recommend that. I don't know if I would want to watch it now that I've kind of seen it in a form that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But the movie was directed by George Romero.
So, there you go.
So, that's kind of interesting to think about. Okay.
You want to jump into music now?
Yep, let's get it over with.
Okay. I'm going to rattle off mine real quick.
Okay.
I gotta look at it, because I always screw it up. The IDKFA album, which is, did I even say it right that time? Yeah, IDKFA. So that is the soundtrack, the new remaster soundtrack for the new Doom plus Doom 2 Kex port. They added a new soundtrack that you can turn on, where, I say new is kind of in quotation marks, so it plays the Andrew Holschultz covers of the original Doom music, and he wrote those a long time ago. I think he wrote them for Brutal Doom. I think that Brutal Doom used his music, but they got Andrew Holschultz to come back. It's covers of all of the songs from Doom 1 and Doom 2, because he didn't do most of the tracks from Doom 2, so there is a lot of new tracks in it, and it's just metal covers of the classic Doom music, and some of them are really freaking good. The one that I will say is kind of funny is the cover of I always call it Icon of Sin. That's not the name of the song. It's
not Sign of Evil. No, not Sign of Evil. That's from Doom.
Yeah, it's
I know what you're talking about.
Opening to Hell from Doom 2. It sounds almost identical to the Mick Gordon version of the song from
the Doom Eternal
from
menu.
Doom Eternal main menu, and it's just like, well, that's the tradition of Doom music for you. Mick Gordon writes the song, Bethesda says, no, frick you, we're never going to release this or sell this song unless you pre-ordered Doom, in that case you have it on a tape cassette. And now you can get a song that's basically a cover of a cover. But that's the other cool thing I can recommend about this album, is that it's available for streaming. You can get it on iTunes, you can get it on Spotify. It's very accessible, and it's really fun. I mean, there are no lyrics to the songs, but it's just heavy metal. It's really good to listen to if you're working on a project or if you're exercising or something. Like, it's a lot of fun. And again, it's the Doom music and it's metal, so it just emanates the cool horror epic Halloween feeling that you're looking for. So easy recommend right there.
I didn't know that had that name. So I was wondering about that. I was looking at your list earlier. Anyway, just quick game OST to get out of the way, because I guess I recommended the game earlier too. Silent Hill 2 soundtrack.
It's a vibe. I've listened to it before. It's very good. I listened to it like 100 times my last semester of college, and because I associate that with not having any food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I like about this soundtrack, what I remember of it, is it's a lot more dreamlike than a lot of the other ones. I wouldn't say it has a lot, like, as many, like, outright, like, horror, like, frightening
it's
tracks.
less horror, and
like,
it's more just like, it's almost like lo-fi. Like, it's just kind of easy atmospheric beats and stuff. Like, it's cool. It's exactly what you would want.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely, like, you can find it on YouTube pretty easily, and I think it's on, like, probably most streaming services. You can get it on iTunes. You can get a vinyl version of it off of Mondo Records, which is surprisingly still in stock. I checked this past week. But when you listen to it, just kind of if you like make your own playlist or something, throw on the end the song Here and Waiting for You from the Silent Hill 4 soundtrack, because that actually belongs with Silent Hill 2. You'll understand why. It's one of the ones with the vocals to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, because I assume you don't have any of them.
I don't. I thought I did, but I don't.
All right. My final recommendation as far as music goes is the second half of Alice Cooper's Raise Your Fist and Yell album. This is one of his more, like, metal-y soundtracks. He had a guitarist called Kane Roberts with him at that time, and a lot of the records he did with him are a lot heavier than, like, some of the... Well, definitely a lot of the earlier stuff he did with the Alice Cooper band. But the second half of this album, like, it starts off with Prince of Darkness from the movie, or for the movie, like we talked about it at the end of last year. But the next tracks just descend into criminal insanity. That's all I gotta say. Especially Roses on White Lace.
Okay, I lied. I actually do have another song recommendation, but this is a song that's kind of hard to get. Like, I don't know if it might be on Spotify. It's not on iTunes. And when I was looking online, the only way I could find it was if you got, like, a physical copy of it. But the song's called The Darkest Side of the Night, and it's by the band Metropolis. And it was written for Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. I want to say it's part 8. I think it's part 8. The one where he takes Manhattan. But it's like a total 80s glam rock song. And it's Friday the 13th, so it's about murder, and it's about the darkness of the city and stuff, and it's a total jam. So I just couldn't remember the name of the song. Like, I literally just thought of it right now. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta bring up that song. And I thought of it because you were mentioning Alice Cooper, and he wrote the Friday the 13th Man Behind the Mask song, which is another one I can recommend. Alice Cooper is so cool. Did you listen to his radio show when he had it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that
Every
was
now and then.
that was actually my introduction to Alice Cooper. Like I was like, oh dang, this guy is awesome on the radio. I'm like 12 at this point. Like it's weird that his name's Alice, but and then I found out he wrote a bunch of songs that I liked, and I was like, oh, awesome. So I have a lot of love for Alice Cooper. I went as him for Halloween in 2014. So cool dude.
And he's still doing shows,
Mm-hmm.
which apparently are like some of the best shows you can see.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I thought about trying to see him before the end of the year, but I don't know.
It's always so hard. And there's so many. There was like a handful of concerts that I almost went to this year, but I don't know. I used to go to concerts, and after the pandemic, I kind of haven't, and I need to just go to one because it'll probably reinvigorate that. But it's just one of those things where it's been so long that it's like I'm afraid I'm going to show up and they're just going to be like, you don't belong here. And I know it's a stupid thing to say, because but it's just one of those things I'm like, am I too old to go to concerts?
Probably not Alice Cooper.
Yeah, definitely not Alice Cooper concerts.
Yeah. No. I haven't been to like a real concert before, and I want the first one I go to be good and something that I like kind of am like deliberate about, and that. But
that would be a good one.
I think I want to listen to more of his discography first, because he kind of mixes it all up.
That's what the car trip is for.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
If we even have to drive anywhere, he might come local.
Yeah, that's true. You could come local.
All right. So that is that.
Yeah, this was a long one, but that's good, because that means there's cool stuff for people to check out, and I hope that everyone that listens to this is inspired to at least look at one of these things that we mentioned.
Yeah. And like I said, I am going to try to put the ones that you can find on YouTube or on the internet for free. Well, I'm going to give the links to Rob, who will put them in the description, because YouTube is a bastard. But yeah, if you check any of these out, let us know what you think. If you're checking out anything, like even if it's something from the past, like just throw it on this video. Don't like from one of our past recommendations videos, throw it on this video. I mean, we do go back and look at the comments from the old ones, because there really aren't that many on them.
And like, let us know if you have any recommendations either.
Yeah, that especially, because that's what we might do for our Halloween special.
Yeah.
Like, we might see something down below. We've done it in the past before. Not as much in the past, like, 2 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
Definitely not last year. Or no, we did. Last year was the odd one out. So yeah, like, let us know if you have something you want us to check out that we haven't seen, and just general rules. Not something that is legal for us to watch, or something that's like, gore porn or whatever.
Yeah, and it has to be something that's doable. I mean, like, if you want us to play through an entire video game, if it's a short game, maybe, but like entire like TV series or something like that, we're not gonna be able to do that. So if you would recommend like a TV series, just give us like a handful of episodes,
or just one, like your top 3, or like a movie, a short story, a comic, or like an album. Maybe specific tracks from an album.
Yeah. A level from a video game or something like that. Just anything.
Yeah.
And then try to remember that we are going to do the live stream here in a few days. Keep your eyes open for that poll. Make sure to vote, and make sure to jump on if you want to chat or whatnot. Yeah. Or just laugh at us, get our butts kicked at some video game.
Yeah.
How do we want to end this?
You repeat that, I wasn't listening.
Oh, I said, how do you want to end this podcast?
Oh. Can you repeat that? I wasn't listening.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Bye.